Thank you very much to Mass Maritime Academy. Thank you very much to the Cape Cod Chamber for the invitation to be here. My name is Francis Slingsby. I'm the CEO of SouthCoast Wind. I felt a little foolish this afternoon because although I grew up in the UK, I forgot my umbrella and I got absolutely soaked in the space of walking around the building. So apologies if I look a bit like a wet dog who's just come in, but that's the bad on me. Clearly this is a maritime environment we're in, and that's exactly to be expected. For those of you I haven't met before, I've been with SouthCoast Wind for the last 7 months. I've been in offshore wind for 13 years, originally with Ørsted in the UK, in Denmark, and in the US for the last 7 years, heading up their commercial and business development, and now fully focused on making sure that SouthCoast Wind can deliver on the Commonwealth's ambitions. SouthCoast Wind is an exciting joint venture between Shell and Ocean Winds, two of the global leaders in offshore wind. For those of you not familiar with SouthCoast Wind, it's 2.5 gigawatts of capacity. That's enough to provide well over 1 million homes with clean, renewable energy. It's enough to accommodate almost 10% of the federal administration's offshore wind goals by 2030. We're located about 20 miles south of Nantucket, and the team, we're about 70 very talented, very diverse and motivated individuals split between Boston and the South Coast as well. And so it's great to be here with you all. It's great to be here with our partners delivering these projects. SouthCoast Wind has a number of core advantages, and at the heart of this lies the partnerships we have. We're immensely proud of the relationship we have with Mass Maritime Academy, working together to deliver the workforces needed for offshore wind. I've worked in many offshore wind markets, and it is the most gratifying thing, and Jen mentioned it earlier actually, is seeing the talent actually grow up around this and seeing, because those are the flag bearers for the industry. It's the people that see 30 years of operations, possible repowering, really good, well-paying jobs, pride of their communities. Those are the people that it really means a tremendous amount to. And the partnerships we have here with Mass Maritime, with the Chamber, and all the companies that work with the Chamber really help us realize that vision. The other big advantage we have is our grid. SouthCoast Wind will be connecting into the strongest point on the grid in potentially Iceland, New England, certainly in Massachusetts. That is at Brayton Point. Now, for those of you that don't know Brayton Point, that was the former coal-fired power station, not far from here, which has now become, in essence, the green plug. And we'll be connecting into that, and that gives us a tremendous advantage as well. We're very advanced on the permitting side of things. We hope by early next year to have our federal permits and our state permits in hand. I know Kelsey's going to talk a little bit more about that as well. Now, as we heard earlier, there are clearly headwinds in this industry. And frankly, I've been in the industry long enough to know that we can navigate these headwinds. We know that clearly the economics are challenging for offshore wind, given supply chain constraints driving capital costs up, interest rate increases driving finance costs up. The combined effect of that puts offshore wind, not just the projects in Massachusetts, but in fact, the global industry in a real bind. But we are committed to resolving this, and we see the strength of the commitment from Massachusetts. We're so grateful for the leadership from the administration and the legislature to deliver offshore wind. And we see the strength of the societal pressure to make sure that these projects are realized. Because frankly, we have so little time to change this, and these are the projects that can really help move the needle here. And then we see the strength of what SouthCoast is bringing in terms of a really dedicated project, capable of delivering so much in terms of economic development benefits, clean energy, and long-lasting partnerships. We see that strength as really bringing us forward. So I want to hand over to my colleague Kelsey, and she's going to take us through the project a little bit, but really look forward to meeting you all, and thanks so much for your interest in SouthCoast Wind.
Okay. Can everyone hear me okay? Just clicking right through here. Yes, so my name is Kelsey Perry. I am SouthCoast Wind's Community Liaison Coordinator. Like Jen, I am born and raised here on Cape Cod. If you all need a plumber, AJP Plumbing and Heating is my dad. Small business on Cape Cod. But yes, born here, raised on Cape Cod. I am super privileged to be in this position to advocate for this industry that I wholeheartedly believe in and am excited about, and also the community that has helped raise me to be able to be in this position as a professional. So I'll give a quick update on where our project is to date. As Frances mentioned, we are a joint venture between Shell and Ocean Winds, who are both major players in the offshore energy space. Shell actually has about 12 gigawatts globally in the offshore wind pipeline. Ocean Winds has about 11 gigawatts globally in the offshore wind pipeline. So not only are they working on the SouthCoast wind project, they're working on projects all over the United States, all over the globe, and truly have the experience to help us navigate these waters that Frances was mentioning. Our project is a huge contributor to net zero emissions in both the Commonwealth and in the nation. So our project, once in operation, it has the potential to generate 2.4 gigawatts of energy. That's enough power to power over 1 million homes and businesses in Massachusetts and for folks who use the ISO New England grid. 4 million metric tons of greenhouse gas emissions will be eliminated on an annual basis once the project is in operation. That's equivalent to removing 10 million cars from the road each year. So there really are major carbon savings. In our project alone, the 2.4 gigawatts will account for approximately 8% of the United States goal of reaching 30 gigawatts of offshore wind by 2030. So it's a big project and very exciting to help reach our goals. This is our project, a quick snapshot of our project. So our lease area is about 30 miles off the coast of Martha's Vineyard and 23 miles off the coast of Nantucket. It's definitely deep out there in the ocean. Again, the capacity is about 2,400 megawatts of energy generation potential. Within our lease area, we have enough room for about 147 wind turbines. With this much energy, we do have 2 points of interconnection, both in Massachusetts. We're working in both Falmouth, Massachusetts, here on the Cape, and as Frances mentioned, in Somerset to connect to Brayton Point. This is a quick snapshot from one of our cool 3D models that we've built with one of our consultants, 3DW. We worked with 3DW to build a model of what our project looks like from the turbines out at sea all the way to construction simulations of the horizontal directional drilling that will be done in Falmouth. It's a great tool to use with fishermen, residents, to really kind of show what these projects can look like. But as you can see, our turbines and all of the turbines in the southern New England lease area block will be about 1 by 1 nautical mile apart. This was a decision made between developers, the U.S. Coast Guard, and other stakeholders for navigational safety. And as you can see in yellow in the circle, that is a 90-foot vessel. So that's what it would look like, a 90-foot vessel traveling through our lease area. Just a quick snapshot of one of our projects. Each of the projects contains everything all the way from the wind turbines to the point of interconnection offshore. So this is a quick schematic of the Falmouth connection, which is very similar to our export cable route to Brayton Point. The turbines offshore will convert kinetic energy to electric energy and will travel in an HVDC, high voltage direct current cable to Falmouth, 45 miles through Muskeget Channel to make landfall in Falmouth. The cables will remain underneath the seafloor, underneath the roadways to reach an HVDC converter station in Falmouth, where then the power would be converted from HVDC to AC to be able to connect to the regional grid system from there. As Frances mentioned, I wanted to give you a quick update on our permitting progress. We did reach a really exciting milestone earlier this year. The Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, BOEM, released our project's draft environmental impact statement. It's a beast of a document. It's 1,600 pages, so I don't recommend, diving into it tonight unless you're really up for a good read. But that's available on our website and BOEM's website. It really shows that we're progressing well through the federal process, and we look forward to getting our final environmental impact statement later this year. And we are progressing through state and local permits, both in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. Of course, we have been in this permitting and development phase since 2018. So we have been completing an array of different surveys to be able to complete this survey work these permits, from marine mammal studies, wetland delineation, socioeconomic impact studies. All of these studies are available on the documents page on our website. And I wanted to offer a quick update on what's going on this year in terms of survey work. So just a couple of weeks ago, we launched our spring survey campaign. We're working with Frugro, who has launched their Frugro Explorer into our lease area for the next 3 months. We will be conducting geotechnical surveys to study our seabed, to continue to advance the project's engineering, and continue to understand all the environmental measures in our lease area. This is our 4th geotechnical campaign. We've had the same G&G lead in place the entire time. She's done a great job with all of our survey campaigns, and we're excited to have vessels out there on the water, continuing to show progress with our project. Oops. Economic benefits, that's really why we're here today, to talk about the blue economy and how economic benefits from offshore wind can support and contribute to everything we already have rolling here on Cape Cod and in Massachusetts. So, of course, thousands of good-paying jobs are coming from the offshore wind industry. For our project alone, the full 2.4 gigawatts, we've conducted a study to show that we will create about 15,000 direct full-time equivalent jobs. Also, the state has procured a study to show that within all phases of offshore wind projects, from permitting development through construction operations, there's about 119 distinct occupations. As mentioned, we're going to talk about this a little bit more with Michael Burns, but often people think, if I'm afraid of heights, I can't be involved, and that is truly not the case. You won't catch me up there on the towers anytime soon, I promise. SouthCoast Wind has also committed to about 75% of our operations and maintenance personnel being locally based. We are working to meet that commitment through the formation of partnerships and making sure we're leveraging existing networks here on Cape Cod and the South Coast. Supply chain opportunities are also abundant, and we have invested millions of dollars towards workforce development, supply chain development, diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives to make sure that the benefits from our project in the industry are flowing to the benefit of residents and the local communities that we're working in. Just to touch on the life cycle super quickly, again, there's job opportunities throughout all of the different life cycles of offshore wind development, offshore wind projects. Construction is when we see the peak amount of jobs. I will note that we are working closely with unions similar to our developer counterparts. We have an MOU signed with the Massachusetts and Rhode Island building trades and look forward to continuing to work with the unions as we look towards construction. This is a quick snapshot of some of our local partnerships and affiliations, folks that we're working with to build out programs here in Massachusetts to make sure that everyone is getting trained and it has the qualifications necessary to work in this industry. All of these different partners, we have different initiatives on, so if any logo catches your eye, I'm happy to talk about specific partnerships, but this really just shows that we need to all be working together and focusing on collaboration if we want these local benefits to land here on Cape Cod and the South Coast. I think we're humble to the fact at SouthCoast Wind that we started working on this project in 2018. We don't have decades and decades of networks here on Cape Cod and the South Coast to be able to ensure all of those benefits will flow right here on our own, and that's why we're partnering with local organizations to make sure that we're utilizing all of their resources and making sure that we're working together to really form the most benefits that we can. And quickly, I just wanted to highlight one of our partnership initiatives that was relevant to workforce training and diversity, equity, inclusion. So we are working together with RPS on a protected species observer training program. Protected species observers are required on all vessels for offshore wind during survey work, construction, operations. SouthCoast Wind has committed to having 4 to 6 protected species observers on all vessels during construction. But we have created a program with RPS where we are providing local Native American community members cost-free training and all certifications required to become a protected species observer. We kicked off this program 2 years ago, and we've had 3 graduates, 2 from the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe and 1 from the Pecasset tribe. who have gone through the program, graduated with their certifications, and have been deployed on South Coast Wind's offshore survey campaigns. One of our graduates is actually out to sea right now working on the survey work that I mentioned in our lease area. So this is a great example of what jobs are available now if folks have the right training. We don't need to wait until construction for the jobs to come. We really need to be making these programs now so that people are trained and ready to go in just a couple of years. We know that Vineyard Wind has their shovel in the ground. South Coast Wind hopes to put our shovel in the ground by 2025. So again, this is just a great partnership that I'm happy to have worked on, and we'll be looking for more partnerships as we continue here in Massachusetts. So make sure to follow us on social media and sign up for our newsletter updates, and I really appreciate your time. Thanks everyone for coming out. It's great to talk about the blue economy.